Welcome to the Single Mom Glow Up, the podcast where we're spilling all the tea on single motherhood, self care, and dating. I'm Bree Bree, your host and fellow single mom navigating life, love, and everything in between. I'm just going to move this real quick. Wherever you are on your single mom journey, this is the place where you'll find real stories, honest advice, and a community that just gets it. So, buckle up if you're driving, and if you're chilling, grab your favorite drink. And if you're cleaning, I'm just honored to be here in your ear or wherever I'm playing um, as your cleaning vibe. So, let's dive in. Today's episode is about dating. I feel like I haven't properly talked about dating on here in a while because I was like not really dating. Um, going through the whole breakup and stuff. I wasn't dating, but like now I'm kind of dating. My first my first experience dating as a single mom. Okay, yeah. Um was embarrassing AF. So I got on Bumble. Yeah, I got on Bumble in May of 2019. Broke up with my kid's dad in February of 2019 after basically 7 years and got on Bumble in May. So already just off to an awful start. And the first person I matched with, you tell I'm struggling to tell this story because it's so embarrassing. The first person I matched with was a medical student studying or about to be studying psychiatry. And so I am a Delulu lover girl. Okay. Deep down, I'm a Delulu lover girl. And I was like, okay, he's going to be a psychiatrist. I'm going to be a therapist. Like, that is a match made in heaven. I've already met the next one. Delulu lover girl. And so, long story short, we chatted a bit. We ended up going on a first date. I hadn't been on like a proper date in so long. So, my aunt took me out to go shopping for something to wear. But like, I'd been coming out of a covert narcissistic relationship, right? And so I didn't have an identity, I didn't have a style, I didn't have anything really about myself. And so basically, the outfit that my aunt helped me pick was not my style at all. Didn't look good on me. I had gone to Sephora as well to get makeup because I didn't have makeup. Didn't know how to put makeup on because it had been years since I had worn any makeup. And I took the advice of the person at Sephora who helped me find a highlighter. She said, mind you, she convinced me to buy this giant thing of highlighter. And she said that it was a liquid highlighter. She said she puts a pump of it in her foundation, but like in the foundation, like that she's putting on. So whatever little pump of foundation she puts on, she also adds a pump of the highlighter and then mixes it together and then puts that on. I don't know if she was lying. I don't know if she explained it wrong. I don't know if she was trolling. I don't know. But I look like a glazed donut in a bad way. Not in like a freshly glowing after a 12-step Korean skincare routine glazed donut. No, like I looked like a dry glazed donut that had been left out for too long. But I didn't know that until I got home. It looked okay when I put it on before I left. And then when I got home, it's like it like dried or I don't know, coagulated in the sun. Like I don't know what happened. But I did not look good. Anyway, we went on a date to some restaurants. It was nice. We ended up sharing some really good guacamole, and he seemed very keen to go on a second date. And then he essentially slow ghosted, where it was like he got back home, didn't say anything. And then the next day, he didn't say anything. And then the day after that, he was like, oh, yeah, I just turned my phone off for self care on that day and blah, 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 blah. I was like, oh, okay, cool. And then he didn't say anything. Like, I want to say there was maybe like a few more messages exchanged, and then I just never heard from him again. And that was devastating. That was like, that hurt almost as much as breaking up with my kid's dad, because obviously I hadn't even started to heal from that process. And so I was just carrying old baggage. Anywho, that was my first date ever after 6.5, almost 7 years with a covert narcissist. All right, now that we've got that awfully embarrassing story over with, let me make my way back to my notes. Let me unstiffen my shoulders for a second. Ugh, I've grown so much since then. That was torture to tell that story. I don't tell that story often. I hope he's doing well. I hope he is, doing good work practicing as a psychiatrist. And I hope he was dating so many women at that time that he doesn't even remember me. Anywho, I hope some of that story, I shared that so that maybe, you resonate, whether you are experiencing something like that now, just experienced it, or, have sworn off dating and are like, I don't think I can date because you experienced something like that. I wouldn't blame you. That was so cringe. And I have so many other cringe experiences too. But I'm going to get into some common things that we experience when encountering a first date as a single mom, right? Especially when it's like the first date. There's two kinds of first dates I'm going to be talking about, right? There's an actual first date with the person that you're talking to, right? Like you could be talking to multiple people. Some of them, you'll go on a first date with. Some of them you don't get past the app, or, the Instagram or the texting or whatever, right? So there's first individual dates with individuals, and then there are first dates with like the first date ever, right? Like what I just shared with you was my first date ever after leaving my kid's dad. I could also share, I was going to say I can share my first date since my most recent breakup. But no, I don't even think that I've been on a proper date since that, actually. Yeah, I've had like experiences or like meetups or hangouts, but I wouldn't call those dates. They weren't dates. Now I'm on a mission to go on a date. Okay. So, some common fears. I just wanted to clarify that because it's both. We're talking about both. I don't want you to sit there and be like, wait, what are we talking about? Are we talking about first date ever, or are we talking about individual first dates? I'm sharing stuff related to both. If the shoe fits, wear it, girly. We're not overthinking today. So, some common fears that you may run into, right? Fear of rejection due to being a mom. Good. Let them reject you due to being a mom. Yes. You do not want to be with someone who doesn't like that you're a mom. It is a good thing to be rejected by someone because you are a mom. Okay? It doesn't feel good, but it is a good thing. I'm speaking from experience. I have dated people who dated in, like, been in a short, it was a short relationship with, and, just dated, gone on a few dates, talked, whatever the kids are calling it these days. People who think that they're okay with me being a mom, but they're not. I've actually, oh my gosh, that just unlocked a memory. Whoa. Okay. I have dated someone who got jealous that I couldn't respond quickly. Oh, yeah, there's more than one. Oh, man. Gotten jealous that I couldn't respond quickly enough because I had a toddler and a preschooler, like, I have things to do. I have responsibilities beyond just taking care of myself as a human. I had a lot on my plate. I had a lot to do. And I think I was still in school too. Let those people reject you. And whether they reject you at the beginning, which is what you want them to reject you at the beginning. You want them to not even consider you. Like the moment they see that you have kids, which always put that you have kids in your profile. I know some people say don't do that because people seek out, like, certain child predators seek out single moms. There are other ways to be safe. I think it is better to just disclose that you have kids than to not disclose and not know when to disclose. You can do other things further down the line, like a good Google search, but other things too, like listening to your intuition. There are certain red flags that predators definitely show. Let them reject you. Sometimes it does happen later on, which sucks. Don't get me wrong. Listen till the end, and learn how to join my community so that if that does happen, you can come vent about it and be in community with other people who have experienced the exact same thing multiple times over. Other fears: worrying about wasting time on the wrong person. All this takes is a mindset shift. All you have to do with this is just shift your mindset. You are not wasting time on the wrong person. If you are out here dating to find someone, this is going to upset the dating with intention girlies, but I really don't care. If you are out here dating with the goal to like find your husband, you are setting yourself up for so much heartbreak and so much failure. Okay? And here's why. When you do that, you are so much more likely to force things, to see things that are not there, to fill in the blanks with positives that are not true than you are if you just go with the flow, but not in the way that these guys be putting in their profile when they really just want to have casual sex. That's not what I'm talking about. Don't go with that flow unless you want to. I mean, go with the flow in the sense of let that person show you who they are, move at your pace, go slowly enough for you that you are able to take the time to think, to take some space, right? If someone asks you directly after a first date how it goes, you can answer it too, right? But don't let that be your final answer. Give it some time. Get away from the person. Spend some time back in your space, in your routine, get back to your life, and then see how you feel about it. And look at it from an objective perspective. Don't look at it how you wanted it to be, right? Was it actually a good date, or did you want it to be a good date? Were there things that he did that got on your like that gave you the ick, and then you overrode the ick because you're like, I'm a single mom, I have to accept less, right? Like, at least this guy asked me out on a date. At least he didn't hit me like my ex did. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I hope guys aren't out here hitting women on the first date. But then again, if you're going to hit someone, it's better to learn before the bond is created, right? Anyway, you're going to meet the wrong person, right? And so instead of dating with the intention of finding the right person, date to learn more about how you move and how you operate. Date to learn more about what you do and don't want in a relationship. Date to observe. Don't force things. Don't date to try to become what you think someone else likes. Definitely don't do that. Date to find out if you actually like that person. Like, clean slate with each person. Sure, you have your lessons from the past, right? Like, you know what certain red flags look like. Date to collect red flags, but not actually keep it for yourself, but to know what it looks like, right? Like, you're going to encounter the same red flags and different behaviors. You're going to encounter emotional availability that looks different in different people, but it's the same type of emotional unavailability. Date to find that out. And then you will stumble upon the right, like, you'll stumble upon someone who doesn't have any of those things, but you are going to find the wrong person over and over and over again. And you not dating, you not going on first dates is not going to prevent you from that process. That's just part of it. Okay. And then another common fear is guilt over prioritizing yourself. I think that's just That's a mom thing, huh? We just don't. We struggle with that one because society wants us to prioritize our kids, and we should prioritize our kids over like a first date and stuff like that, right? But you're allowed to prioritize yourself if you've got the time, or you can make the time for yourself. That's okay. That's good because your cup deserves to be full. It makes you a better mother to have a full cup. So do what fills it. That's for your kids too. It's for you, period. You can end the sentence there. And it's for your kids. Okay? Common mistakes to avoid. I'm pausing because I do this one sometimes. So there's a balancing act with this first one. The first one is oversharing too soon. Oversharing deep personal struggles, oversharing complaints about an ex. Like, yeah, there is a point of oversharing, right? And that point is different for everyone. It's different for you, it's different for me, it's different from for someone you would date, it's different for someone that I would date. And so it's a balancing act in the sense of like, don't overshare what you feel comfortable sharing. But the right person is not going to mind what someone else might call an overshare, as long as it's not too, like, there is a line that's sort of like objectively oversharing too soon, especially on a first date. But it's okay to get a little bit oversharey because there are oversharey people in the world who appreciate that in other people, and then you can overshare together. Just be wary because some people do that to trauma bond early on. Again, that's why dating to kind of just like suss out the world, especially if you're new at it, is key instead of just going straight into dating being like I did in the story at the beginning. All right, don't do that. Don't do that. Okay, you do not want to feel the cringe that I still feel 5 years later. Oh my gosh, it's almost 6 years later. Yeah. All right, rushing into dating without feeling ready. I already spoke to that. I do have an example of a more recent example of that. I recently met someone and we've decided to just be friends because something about our interactions was off, and I was starting to realize that he I was getting the vibe that he was just sort of like, instead of having taken time to figure out himself and heal after a breakup and all that stuff, that he just went right back in. And when you do that, you have a certain energy. It's like you're trying to fit someone into the hole that your ex left. That is a terrible analogy. I don't like that at all. You're trying to fit someone into the space, into the void that your last relationship left. And whereas I was doing that to people almost 6 years ago, I was experiencing that from him as the person that he was trying to fit. And that didn't feel right. And I told him that because if you listen to last episode, I don't hold my tongue. Don't rush into dating without feeling ready. Readiness is different for everyone. Some people never feel ready. A lot of times that just means that you're avoiding doing some work, not avoiding in a bad way, but just like maybe you don't have the time, maybe you don't have the energy, maybe you don't know how to do the work. That's okay. If you're here, you're in the right place. Ignoring red flags because you're eager for connection. This one, I see this in the cis het women that deal with men, right? When you deal with massive red flag after massive red flag after massive red flag, when you are coming out of a long-term relationship with what, most of us refer to as a narcissist, the smaller red flags don't seem that bad. And so it's kind of almost easy to overlook or to ignore them because it's nowhere near as bad as the other stuff. And you're like, oh, like this isn't that bad. Or you don't even think it's not that bad. You just don't even like see it, right? Or at first. Again, if you are just getting into dating and you're just starting to go on these first dates, don't be using that time to try to find your forever person. Be using that time to try to figure out these things, if you want to take the advice of someone who did it the hard way. Or you can do it the hard way yourself. Like, the hard way may not actually be hard for you. Maybe you're God's favorite and, and he just immediately connects you with the right person. All power to you if he does that. But if that is not happening for you, slow down, take a step back, and change your dating approach. It is an opportunity to get to know someone. It is not an audition for your future partner. You are interviewing them. And I'm not saying that in a literal questioning, like you have to come in with all these questions and be super prepared. If that's your thing, do that. Like, don't change yourself. But you are interviewing them. You're not going there and you're not trying to like win. You're not going in there and trying to get the job. Mm-mm, absolutely not. I'm just going to read the list. Hold me accountable. I'm just going to read the fucking list. Okay? All right. So, before you get ready for the date, mindset reset. Okay? Your focus is going to be on having fun and being present. Okay? You are enough just as you are. Being a mom is a strength, not a weakness. Oh, see, I was about to go off list. Woo, that was close. Okay. All right. So, the actual checklist, that's sort of like your pre-checklist note, your actual checklist. Choose a location where you feel comfortable and safe. Okay. Let a trusted friend or family member know your plans. And then have a backup plan in case things don't go well. If you need a backup plan, right? Like I'm pretty direct. My backup plan is to just abruptly get up and leave. But have a backup plan if you need a backup plan. Okay. Wear something that makes you feel confident and comfortable. Both. Okay. Don't put liquid highlighter in your foundation for the first time ever when you go on the date and then come back looking like a caked over glazed donut. Keep your look simple but authentic to your personality. And, take the time to sort it out before you go on the date. Practice, if you're an affirmation girly, practice your affirmations related to your confidence and self-worth. I deserve to find love that I deserve to find love that aligns with my worth. Okay, something like that. If it resonates, if not, leave the affirmations. Just, put on a song that makes you feel good. And then take a moment to breathe and center yourself either before heading out or in the car. Also a great place for the music, the car. I didn't write this one, but now that I've said car, drive or like have your own transportation for the first date. Do not get into a random man's car that you met on the internet. Now, if this is someone who you've been in, communication with for a while and you know them or you know enough of them to feel like, okay, like I can get in this person's car, then that's fine. But I'm talking like if you just met this guy on an app, y'all been talking for a week and he's like, hey, I want to see you. Would you like to meet at da 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 for a date? And you're like, yeah. And he's like, give me your address. I'll pick you up. And you can be like, thank you for the offer. I don't want to give my address out just yet, but I'll keep that in mind if we go on future dates. I will meet you there. Boom. And make sure you bring your phone with a fully charged battery. If you're like me, your battery just, you blink and then it's at 10%. And then, bring your keys, your ID, bring cash, bring cards, whatever, right? Like, if you don't want to pay, you don't want to pay, but you never know what's going to happen. Just make sure you are able to get yourself out of a sticky situation if you need to. Speaking of sticky situations, depending on where you are, you may want to bring like, your self-defense stuff, You never know, okay? You can never be too safe. Better to have it and not need it than to need it and not have it. And then something that boosts your confidence, whether that's something like lipstick or, maybe you have a lucky charm, maybe something like that. A fidget if, you need to stim or something, but you don't necessarily want to be super open about that at the beginning. I did a decent job of staying on the list, right? Yes, maybe, no. You beat the judge. Okay. And then once you're there on the date, okay, yeah, setting the tone for the first date, you set the tone. I mean, it's interesting that I use the word tone because I'm about to get real scientific, but like woo woo scientific, like quantum scientific on y'all. But it's really not that quantum. It's just not seen, but it can be measured and has been measured. Anyway, the tone, right? So when I hear the word tone, I think of this is going to be a bit obscure, but tuning forks. If you don't know what tuning forks are, maybe you'll get it from the context of what I'm saying. If not, Google it. Well, yes, you do set the tone, right? The person that you were meeting will also set their own tone, right? Like that's why sometimes immediately when you meet someone, you don't even have to necessarily touch, you don't have to necessarily speak to them just yet. It's like you just know that something is off, right? And that's because their tone or their frequency or their vibration, right? Their energetic field, their energetic blueprint, that literally the thing that I was speaking to that has been measured before or can be measured, our heart emits a frequency so potent and so strong that it can be measured outside of the body. Like it literally creates a field around the body. So, and that field is coming from a vibration, is coming from a frequency that your heart is setting. So when you don't vibe with someone, like you literally don't vibe with them, y'all are essentially singing two notes that don't sound good together, like dissonance. Like it's not just something that you can necessarily, I mean, you can change it in yourself to then resonate with them, but do you want to do that when your natural resonance is a note that just naturally doesn't resonate with their note, right? They're not going to change their note for you, most likely, right? So you shouldn't change for them. You should just find someone who resonates. Anyway, you you set the tone. Okay, so if you want to start with light, engaging conversation topics, then do that. Neurotypical people, y'all like to, you like that small talk kind of stuff, talking about hobbies and travel and like, I don't know, shows, movies, stuff like that. Right? So if that's what you want to talk about, you talk about that. If that's the case, if you want to keep it light, keep it light. Like if they start talking about something a bit more and you're like, I don't really want to go there, don't. If they start talking about exes and you don't want to go there, don't. They start asking you all these questions about, how you became a single mom, you're not ready to go there, don't. You don't have to go there. On the contrary, if you are neurodivergent, you're probably like, I want to hear these things like immediately. Let me know from the jump so that, we don't waste each other's time. And this doesn't necessarily have to, like, you can be neurotypical and feel that way, and you can be neurodivergent and feel like you want to do the lighter topics too. I'm just saying, on average, if you want to go into the heavier stuff, you can go into the heavier stuff on a first date. Just know that if you're dealing with someone who wants to keep things light and you keep going heavy, that's going to backfire. One, and two, it's kind of like not cool. If you want to go into those topics and they don't, then you can either keep it light and just be patient if that's your thing, or if you're like, no, I really want someone who like has the, whether it's courage, whether it's, that's just how they are. You want someone who likes to go into the deeper topics like immediately. They're not afraid, or they're not cautious, or they're not private or anything like that. Then that's something to mentally note as to, when someone asks you later on, how was that first date? You can be like, it was okay, but they seem a bit too private for me. Like, these are things that you take note of, okay? And that kind of gets me into my next thing, which is spotting the red flags. Now, that's not a red flag. That is just an incompatibility. So some examples of red flags, but there are so many, I'd be here forever listing them all. They either dismiss or seem uncomfortable with your role as a mom. Hopefully it doesn't get to first date status before you start to see that. But if it does, it does happen, right? Or, like I told you, those people who got jealous. How are you going to be jealous of a kid, much less my kid that I gave birth to? Or worse, they'll get jealous of or I don't think this is worse actually, but they'll get jealous of your kid's father. They dominate the conversation without asking about you. One, that is a red flag. And its cousin, when you do talk about yourself, they interrupt or they forget or they seem distracted. I don't want to say seem distracted because some people with ADHD and autism seem distracted, but we are very much listening. But they are distracted, right? Like they pull out their phone and they start like texting someone else, and then they're like, huh? What did you say? And you're like, I literally, like, what? I was literally just talking. Okay. And then if they show signs of, I'm going to say inconsistency, that shows up more often than dishonesty, but it's often like a precursor to dishonesty, right? You're going to notice inconsistency probably before you notice dishonesty. All right. And then here are some common scripts for setting boundaries. Feel free to write these down. Okay. If they ask about meeting your child too soon, say, I'm sorry, what? Are you a child predator? No, I'm kidding. Don't say that. I mean, if you want, say whatever the fuck you want. But I take my time introducing people to my child. I hope you can respect that. And if they say they can respect that and keep pushing, drop them like a hot potato. This is getting back into like whether or not to have that you have kids in your profile. That this is one of those things where it's like, okay, this person is acting a bit weird about seeing my kids, or like they keep pushing. That's weird. Okay. Don't let anyone tell you that that isn't weird. It's weird. If they push for something you are uncomfortable with, you can say something like, I'm not ready for that step yet, and I'd like to take things at a pace that feels right for me. Okay. And again, if they push that, that's weird behavior. If you're setting a boundary and someone's like, yeah, okay, I get that. That's cool. And then they turn around and do the same thing. They do not respect you. They do not like you. They want to control you. They do not hear you. They do not care about you. They just want to use you to whatever end that they have in their mind. If they ask invasive questions about your ex, and what invasive means is different for everyone, like I'll answer whatever question. Well, no. If it involves me and like my experience and outlook on relationships now and something that would be relevant to a future relationship, then I'll share it. But if it doesn't, then I don't share it, right? Like I'm not sharing my ex's secrets or anything like that. If they do ask that, you say, I prefer to focus on getting to know each other instead of past relationships. But we can talk about that, as we get to know each other better. Because we're not always closed off to these things, but it's okay to let someone know that we're closed off to it right now. Now, this is something that I feel like people don't really talk about, but like it's super important. Post date reflection, I think, is the most important part. The same way that people say that when you are working out or strength training or like whatever, right? The most important thing is not necessarily the workout itself, but the rest afterwards so that your body can integrate the muscle fibers that you've ripped and repair them so that your muscles get bigger. And if you don't do that, then you're not going to reap the benefit of the actual workout and you will burn out. Like the same thing happens with dating. Okay, you go on a date, right? Especially that first date. I can't tell you the number of times that I've continued past the first date without doing a proper post date reflection. And when things end or ended, right? I'm like, I saw this coming. This was clear on the first date. Not every first date, but many first dates, it was clear. Do your post date reflection, okay? Right. Here's how you're gonna do it. Basically, if you don't want to journal, you don't have to journal. You can, especially for a post date reflection, you can video journal and like delete it afterwards, right? The goal of journaling isn't necessarily to create a record. If someone read your journal against your will and like either used it against you or made fun of you for it or whatever, and you're like, I'm never doing this again, or like you just don't touch it now, you don't have to journal as journaling is, where it's like you write it down and you leave it in a book, right? You could burn it, you could rip it up, you could throw it away, you could do whatever. The goal when I speak about journaling isn't to keep it. The goal is to force your mind to choose what words to use to describe the experience, because what we don't usually realize is that a whole bunch is going on in our head at the time, right? And so you may be thinking, oh man, that date was great, or oh, that date was kind of terrible, or da 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 da. Like that may all be swirling around in your head. When you have to pick out the words to describe what happened, then you can see more clearly. Then you can reflect on what actually happened and how you actually feel about it, instead of it just swirling around in your head and you not knowing what to do with it. And then you just piecing together something that isn't fully reflective of what your experience was. Okay, so like I said, you don't have to keep it, but if you do it, that it forces your mind to sort of make sense of everything. I'm like doing all of this. Okay. And so you can write it down and discard it or keep it, right? Like I keep my journals. Um, but you don't have to keep it. You can write it out, type it out in the notes app and also delete it if you want or not. You can video journal it or record yourself. You can also like have these prompts written down and then call a friend and just have a chat with a friend. Oh my gosh. I'm sorry if that face was absolutely horrendous, but I just had an idea to add. I'm going to add this to the community, the Discord community. I'm going to add a post date reflection channel in there for us to. Oh my gosh. Okay. Let me write this down so I don't forget it. I'm going to add a post date reflection channel in there, and you can literally just go in and write your post date reflection in there. And if you're, it can be completely anonymous, right? Like if you make your Discord account, if your Discord account is already like this, where it's just totally anonymous, like no one needs to know that it's you. Like we'll know you as whatever your Discord is, yeah, but like we don't know you as who you actually are IRL, okay? So let me just write that down. Post date reflection. Thanks, y'all. Ugh, I'm so excited for that. It may not get popping for a while, but like when it is popping, that's gonna be so fire. I'm so excited. All right, post date reflection channel on Discord. Perfect. Okay, so the prompts, which I will add to the Discord server, I'll have it as a pin post at the top of the post date reflection channel to help you reflect, should be something like, how did I feel during the date? Did I feel excited, nervous, relaxed, anything else? What stood out to me about this person? Positive or negative or neutral? Whatever stood out. You may not know. Oh my gosh. I can't tell you. Maybe this is like I feel like this is a neurodivergent thing, something in line with, I've never heard this thing said out loud. I do a lot of reading and I do a lot of, like, I'll watch videos, but I'll have the captions on and not hear them. Um, so I've never heard this word said out loud. So if I'm saying it wrong, you are allowed to laugh. But the alexithymia, the inability to like recognize emotions and feelings, or like to translate them really, as myself an autistic person, but as neurodivergent people, that is a common issue. Anyway, the number of times that I have noticed something in someone and it make me feel weird. And it's like, what does weird mean? Is it good? Is it bad? Is it neutral? Like, what is it? I don't know, but it made me feel weird. Okay. What stood out to me about this person? They made me feel weird. Write it down. You may get clarity on it later on. And then, did I notice any red flags or green flags? Okay, so if you do actually notice these things, those are both beige flags. You can add beige flags in there too. Okay, just some tips, some extra tips with that post date reflection. If something feels off, it's okay to say no to a second date, even if you don't know what it is, even if you're very much resonating with that was weird. I don't know why it was weird, but if you're not like me, where you're like, well, let's F around and find out. And you're just like, I'm just going to stay away from weird. That's fine. You don't have to go on a second date. The right person ain't going to make you feel that way. Okay. Or if that person who made you feel weird, if you say no to a second date at first and then you're like, wait a minute, that was actually good weird, right? Like, oh my gosh, this wasn't a date. This was just me meeting up with a friend that I had a major crush on, um, who I swear also has a major crush on me. But anyway, things got complicated. I brought him a mini cupcake and he ate the whole thing, including the wrapper. I was like, that was very weird. That was unhinged behavior. But then I realized that's the kind of unhinged behavior I like. That was just so unexpected. I didn't know how I felt at first. I was worried, but then I was like, wait a minute, that is hilarious and weird. Okay. But it might take some time, and it's okay to at first be like, no, I don't really want to do that. And if it stays that way, fine. But it may also change. It may change to, you know what? Maybe. Or yes, I'd like to go on a second date. And, they have every right to have completely moved on and been like, well, I don't want to go on a second date with you anymore. So just keep that in mind. It might line up. Like if something is meant for you, it will work out. If something is not meant for you, there is nothing that you can do in your power or in any other power to make it be for you. You will just spend your life gripping something that isn't there or gripping something that hurts you and continues to hurt you until you decide to let it go. And then another reminder, you're not obligated to pursue anyone who doesn't align with your values or goals. It is important to know what your values and goals are. Yes. And like I said at the beginning, the values, yes, are an end all be all. The goal is an end all, but it's in the future. What are you doing now? You're just going on a first date. You do not need to be thinking husband on the first date. You need to be thinking, can I tolerate this person? No, not even tolerate. Oh, oh, ah, that was an awful word. Where did that come from? Ah, no, not tolerate. Do I thoroughly enjoy this person's company? And if the answer is no, like, don't. You can go on a second date, maybe a third date to just make sure, if you like to F around and find out. But if it's not there, it's not going to magically appear, right? Unless you're literally doing a friendship thing. That's a whole different. Friends to lovers is a whole different thing that doesn't really exist too well with like dating apps and that kind of dating, but works really well, in the traditional way. Anyway, I'm getting off topic. Whether the date was great or not, this is still part of your post date reflection. Whether the date was great or not, give yourself a pat on the back for putting yourself out there, for giving it a try, for going, for getting cute. Make sure you take pictures of yourself looking fine as hell. Okay? Period. Make sure you celebrate yourself. And dating is a journey, it's not a race. Okay? It is a journey. I know sometimes it feels like a race, especially when you see all your friends getting engaged and married around you, and you're just like, okay, well, I'm moving slow, aren't I? You're not. It's a journey. And your journey may be like this, and their journey may be like this. And at least in America, their journey may look a lot like yours in a few years. Hopefully not. We do not wish that on our friends. But statistically speaking, their journey may end up like yours in a few years, which is sad. We are diamonds, baby. Okay? If you resonated with anything today, join us in the Single Mom Sanctuary. If you loved the post date reflection thing and you're like, I need to do that, do it in the server. Okay? Race to the server. Dating isn't a race, but race to the server. Join us. Okay. Discord is completely free, by the way. Like to join, to use. I'm not sure exactly what it started as. I think it was kind of like a gamer thing, but more and more people are using it for non-gamer things, and it's turning into. It reminds me of old school AIM, AIM, if that's what you call it, but I called it AIM, where you have your little username and you can see who's online and you can join chat rooms. Like that's my single mom sanctuary is a chat room basically, but there's like different channels in there for different topics. And yeah, it's just fun, but it's not overstimulating in the sense of like, you get on Instagram and you're bombarded with coaches trying to sell you stuff and brands trying to sell you stuff, and you barely see like the people that you're actually on there to interact with unless you look at the stories or you go into the DMs. Same with TikTok. There's just like so much going on all the time, and that's sort of why I've taken a step back from those platforms, because in the Discord server it's just people chatting, connecting. Like there's not all this noise. And like I know Facebook groups are kind of like that, but even unless you are actively going to the Facebook group and reading everything, it also very much has a similar element to Instagram, where it's like where you're not necessarily seeing what you originally got on Facebook for. Like I say all that to say, join the Discord server because it actually feels like a community. You can just go on there, and they have a phone app. You can get it on Android and iOS, and just like toggle between both. You can actually download it to your computer as well, or you can just use it like a regular tab on the in your browser. Gosh, that was enough computer stuff for my brain. Okay, didn't I say I was gonna end it? Why y'all keep letting me do this? All right, I'll see you in the Discord server, and if not, I will see you next week. Okay, make sure you follow, subscribe, etc., etc. And yeah, bye bye. Dating is not a race, it is a journey.